Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and a brand new patch did just roll, and of course that's patch 1.4 point something on the PTR, and it's a pretty interesting patch. There's quite a few big changes that I'd like to talk about, and today in particular I'm really going to be talking a bit about Ana, Widowmaker, and Junkrat, as you can see in the title. Of course, in the future, I will be talking about a lot of other stuff in this patch, but for now, this is what I'm really going to be trying to focus on. Now, of course, let's just first start off with Ana, which is the character that I feel like got really the most changes. And to begin with, she got some really kind of a nice quality of life change for your team and the enemy team, and that is that now when you hit someone with Ana's ult with her nano boost, they have new voice lines that informs all the other players in the game who you ulted. For example, if you decide to ult a Reinhardt, it'll have a voice line. If you ult a Bastion, it'll have a voice line. If you ult a McCree, it'll have a voice line. If you ult anyone, even another Ana or a Mercy, I do reckon that it will have a voice line. So that's pretty nice. It can tell the enemy team mainly who you're ulting, and they can kind of get ready to see who's going in. As it was before, you know, an Ana would just ult someone, and then you have no idea who has the ult. You don't know if the Tracer has the ult, you don't know if the Reinhardt has the ult, you don't know if the Roadhog has the ult, but now you can kind of tell. So that was kind of a nice thing that they added, and it really adds a bit of counterplay to her ultimate, which didn't have the most in really the first place before, and yeah, that's kind of nice. Anyways though, along with the nerfs with Ana, we got another nerf, which is that her nano boost, her ultimate, again, along with the nerf that, you know, now the enemy team knows who's really getting ulted. Nano boost also now has an increased cost of 20%, and that'll really kind of hurt this character. Now, I feel like a lot of people could agree, Ana's nano boost really came up way too fast, way too often, but still, she wasn't really the best support in the game. I feel like she kind of needed this really fast ultimate, this kind of broken ultimate, in order to be a really good and a really playable support. But it seems like Overwatch and, you know, the Blizzard developers didn't really think that. As well with that, the Ana ultimate, for it being so easy to charge really, it kind of really supported the 3 tank and the 3 support meta, as if you had 3 tanks, even if you had an Ana, you could super easily and super quickly get your ult up. Now, this is an increase by 20%, so I don't know if the strategy will still be really good. Of course, Ana's probably the main key point of the 3 tank, 3 support strategy as far as, you know, getting ults and going in. So I think the strategy still might be very good, still might be playable, but of course not as good. And of course in other situations, you know, your ult's just going to charge 20% slower. So what this could also mean is that you just have to wait 20% more time until you can go in. It's not the worst thing, but of course I feel like it is a nerf that, while it does make sense, it's kind of annoying, as Ana doesn't feel like the strongest support in the game. She feels very good, but all the other supports also feel very good, so it's kind of weird for her to get a nerf. I can see kind of why they're doing it, though. Other than that, though, they did also give her a slight buff, which is that her biotic grenade had a radius that increased from 3 meters to 4 meters, which is pretty nice. As before, it didn't really have the best range in the game, and now it has an extra meter, and as we see, 1 or 2 extra meters, as we saw with Mei's ult, really means quite a bit. So now it'll be a lot easier to, you know, hit your teammates, which is what they really focused on, and of course, hitting the enemies and stopping their healing, which will be really nice against Zenyatta. Throw your Ian, stop his ult. So I guess it could be a buff against Zenyatta, a buff against some of the other healers. But yeah, that's the biotic grenade, and that's really all that was done with Ana. Overall though, with Ana, I'd say it kind of makes sense. I can see where they're coming from, but it's kind of annoying as she didn't really feel like the super overpowered support. I'm still kind of surprised that we didn't see any more Lucio nerfs. I was expecting at least a slight nerf either on his ultimate or a nerf on his like E, especially his healing, something like that, but no nerfs. And of course Zenyatta feels like he's in a decent place, Mercy feels like she's in a decent place. So overall I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty happy with support balance. I feel like this Ana nerf was maybe a bit too much, but maybe it'll just put her right where she needs to be. Anyways, after that we have a buff for the hero of Junkrat, and Junkrat's been a hero that he's been decent. The really bad thing about him right now is that a lot of people are playing Zarya, which really counters Junkrat as you just feed her 100% shield. And as well with that, a lot of the times against, you know, a lot of tanks, when you're shooting with Junkrat, it gives the enemy team, especially their Ana, a lot of free heals on your tanks. If, you know, the Junkrat's shooting around the corner, keeps hitting your tanks, but your Ana keeps healing your tanks back up, well, Ana's gonna get her ult really fast. So I feel like those are the main problems about Junkrat. He really doesn't have that much burst, you know, especially at further ranges and stuff like that. But it turns out that what kind of happened was something really unexpected. They really didn't make him way too much better. What they decided to do was, in fact, make so that his Riptire, you know, his ultimate, now can be activated much more quickly. And it feels about 2 times as fast. I'm not going to say the exact statistics, but it feels like once you press Q, it'll come out about twice as fast. Now, this is kind of a nice buff. You know, it did feel like it took a long time before this, but it's not really the best buff in the world. It doesn't really buff his base kit way too much. Of course, buffing ultimates is always nice. Nerfing ultimates is also always very nice. But, you know, I feel like he could have used at least a slight buff to his base kit. A slight buff, like a slight execute or something. I don't know, something that could help. Something that could help a little bit against tanks, which is what he really struggles with. Maybe a buff to his ultimate would help. I kind of wish that they also would have made so his ultimate maybe moves a little bit faster, something like that. This might help, but probably won't really change way too much, to be honest. Now, as far as the final character that got buffed in this patch, I'm going to be talking about Widowmaker, and her right click, the Widow's Kiss, now has a different scoping animation. Well, it's not different, it's the same thing, but it went down from 0.5 seconds to 0.3 seconds, which is kind of nice. It makes it you can charge a little bit faster, and of course, the main thing that they really talked about in this is that it can help you acquire targets more quickly in fast-paced situations, which is pretty true. I mean, when you right click, it used to take a little bit too long. You couldn't really track people that well in between the right click, but now you can do it pretty well. The problem I really feel about this is that it doesn't really fix the main problem with her, which is A, you can't do much if you can't headshot people, and B, that right now she's really just, you have to wait a long time to get your damage out. You have to wait a long time, and then try to snipe. Wait a long time, try to snipe. This doesn't really fix that at all. Now, what I really wish they would have done, which is an idea that I heard from quite a few people, which is that once you right clicks, you could just left click a lot, like left click, left click, left click. You know, left click quite often and have more consistent but less bursty damage, and then she could charge her right click to do some really nice bursty damage as she has right now. Maybe nerf her burst damage a little bit and buff her consistent damage. I feel like that would be a pretty cool thing, as right now, when you right click and just instantly shoot, it does less than, I think, a single bullet of your unright clicked or your unscoped gun. So it's a little bit weird, but yeah, this buff, while it may help a little bit, while it may help you, you know, acquire targets, as they say, I don't feel like it'll really do way too much with this meta, and she's overall going to stay very similar, I feel. It might be nice. I am glad that they at least are trying to do stuff on Widowmaker, but I'm expecting in very soon patches that we are going to get some more Widowmaker buffs. These buffs do seem like pretty good buffs, pretty good nerfs. You know, they're a starting place, but I'm really expecting that in the future weeks, in the future months, really the future weeks, that in the 1.4 patch, we're going to have like 1.4.2, 1.4.3, stuff like that, and we're probably going to get more buffs to Junkrat, more buffs to Widowmaker. I'm guessing, this is all speculation, and Anna may get buffed a little bit or nerfed a little bit, depending on what goes on. I'm just expecting a lot more buffs and a lot more nerfs in the future, as that's kind of what's keeping this game dynamic and what's keeping it a little bit fun, in my opinion. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. These have just been all the changes that we have so far. Really not way too many changes. And tell me what you guys think about the changes. Tell me if you want the changes to be a little bit more, or maybe, especially with Anna's case, if you want them to be a little bit lesser, a little bit different. And one thing before I end that I do have to mention that I forgot. Anna did also have a bug that was fixed, or she used to have a bug that was, once you have your E on the enemy team, they still sometimes get healed by the payload. They made it so that doesn't happen anymore. So I guess they did kind of buff Anna that way, but not really the best buff in the game. You know, it was kind of a bug instead of a buff. So it was a bug fix instead of a buff. Anyways though, guys, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. As always, leave a like if you want to see any more videos like this, any more videos about the brand new patches. I love talking about this. I love talking about, you know, the competitive standpoint, what's going to happen, stuff like that. And of course, I just feel like it's pretty fun to hear about this, hear about everyone's opinions, and, you know, just similar things with that. Now, as well with this, I'm also probably very soon going to talk about other stuff within this patch and stuff about patches in the future. So if you like hearing about patch notes, about competitive patch notes, you know, the ramifications, make sure to hit that subscribe button, press the like button, and comment down below your own opinion on these patch notes. I really want to hear it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and of course, as always, have a wonderful day.